Look at what 2 days in the sun has done to my fucking face. Properly broiled gammon. I can't fucking believe it. Honestly, this happened because I spent 2 days out in the sun interviewing people like a prick. But the Remainers are really salty. Really salty. As you can see by this video by Thunderfoot. Phil, dude. Come on. It's time to get on board with the winning team, isn't it, Phil? But no, seriously, some of your criticisms here are ridiculous and you know it. This is clearly motivated by the fact that you're really upset that things didn't go the way you expected.
Maybe this wasn't such a great idea after all. You know, the punchy slogans laced with emotional imagery. It's great idealistically.
Well, it kind of was the antithesis of the Remain campaign. Fear. Nothing but fear. Imagine all the shekels we're going to lose. Well, I'm not so worried about that.
In practice, maybe not so. A bitterly divided country was never going to come together with the unexpected victors taking every opportunity to polarize divisions.
Oh, right, okay. So the Brexiteers were the ones polarising divisions. The Remainers did nothing wrong. I see. Can't help but feel that's slightly disingenuous. I mean, it's not like the Remainers were treating people who disagreed with them like pieces of shit or something. I mean, that did happen, didn't it? And really, you guys lost. So the people who now need to come together for the good of the country ain't the Brexiteers, is it? They're the ones who are doing what they should do. It's you guys. Boom, make Britain great again, or something like that. That's seriously, we need to be able to organise against these people to show them that they are full of shit, to show the outside world that there is a strong faction within the Brexit debate that is pro-Brexit, very confidently so, and very happy that this is going on. Yeah, totally stand by that. Why aren't you guys getting on the winning team? There's only one choice. There isn't another option. It's Brexit now, so we may as well get on with it. I wonder why the Remainers can't get over it. Yeah, I stand by this. It is your civic duty to aid Brexit in any way you can. And the first thing you can do about it is by stop being such a bunch of downers about it. It is the new reality. Get used to it. I noticed that 2 years on, you're still not used to it. I can't help but notice that, like... I mean, it seems that you guys are deliberately trying to sabotage these things because you're angry. Just an observation.
Yeah, I mean, when has such a plan ever failed to bring a country back together?
What the fuck do you want us to do? Should we rub your bellies? Should we, come along with hankies? Dry those tears. What the fuck do you want us to do? You're the ones with the problem here. You need to get over it, don't you? Don't you? And we want Britain and May, the Conservatives, to do a good job of it. And thankfully they look like they're doing a fairly good job of it now. And back then, they were. Theresa May's rhetoric was on point. She hadn't made any major mistakes. And as she made mistakes, my opinion of her changed. That's what not being a zealot is, in fact. But anyway, carry on. But we should fight these people on social media when they're just constantly whining. We should, in fact, choose a hashtag. We should choose a hashtag that we can, whenever we see them... So I would say Make Britain Great Again as a hashtag. That's the one I'll be using. I'll probably title this video that. Probably did when I was back on Twitter. But anyway, I mean, what do you think we should do? Continue whining about the fact that we lost an election? Oh no, so you lost a referendum.
Yet Sargon, who actually had a debate about this before the Brexit vote, thought that afterwards what we needed was a hashtag, a good old-fashioned hashtag activism. That'll bring the country back together. Well,
it's a way of communicating. I mean, calm down. It's not like people don't do it all the time. It's not like there aren't massive international hashtags that create massive movements that get sort of like 500,000 people out in the streets. So did you forget the Women's March? Or Me Too? What's a hashtag ever done? What about Black Lives Matter? Oh, hashtag activism. Doesn't do a thing.
That'll save Brexit.
If we get... I mean, it's just ideas in people's heads, right? You know that you can transmit these ideas in any way. And a hashtag is actually quite an effective way to do it, which is why people do it, which is why it works. Sorry, Thunderfoot, you're busy being a downer. I didn't mean to interrupt. A united front of just Britain is amazing. We're confident, we're going for this, everyone's on our side, this is going great for us, we will win. Yeah, and if you guys could get on board with the other half of the country, the majority of the country, who, and even more now, who just want to see Brexit done right, even if they didn't agree with it. So it's actually about 37% of the country who just can't fucking get over it, of which you are one, Phil. Then this would be a lot easier, wouldn't it? I mean, this would be what it would really strengthen our hand. I mean, obviously that doesn't really matter, because no matter how much our hand is strengthened, Theresa May appears to be desperate to sell us out. But I'm pretty damn sure that the pressure from the Ramonas, is one of the reasons that she is, frankly, so weak. If she was hearing nothing but Theresa, just go out and be tough, be strong, do what's right, she would probably do it. Okay, that was really optimistic. She won't do it. She's shit.
We will have a great deal from the EU. We will be...
I'm not saying that's happening, you dumbass. I'm saying that is a possibility if people behaved in a certain way. I appreciate you're incapable of behaving in a way that might be beneficial to others, but I'm not saying that's happening, you idiot.
Be able to put them over a barrel and to be able to just call the shots.
Do you understand how negotiation works?
And we can be magnanimous.
And that everyone else should just stop whining and get over it.
Yes! Fucking hell, Phil. Stop whining and get over it. Man, I watch all of your fucking science videos, but as soon as you talk about politics, you're such a normie.
Like, that's a convincing argument that'll work. Oddly...
It's up to you. What the fuck? What would convince you to stop being a whiner? Man, I wish I hadn't done this video with such a sunburnt face. I'm going to see your video response and be like, oh god, look at my fucking face. But seriously though, what would convince you to get over it? What would convince you? What do you want? Undo democracy? Is that it?
Enough. That hashtag campaign didn't work out so well.
Oh wow, I guess it was because no one was supporting. You failed to support. I mean, maybe if a bunch of us had supported it, maybe it would have gone further. I guess there's a lesson to be learned there. I tell you, you choose the hashtag and I'll support that. How about that?
Sort of a level of naivety that you should maybe expect from someone who thinks that this is how the British system works.
The way that they speak.
No, but let's imagine. Let's imagine.
Taxation without representation. Do you have any way of changing it?
Yes, actually I do. I could start.
don't.
Of course I do.
No.
Of course I do. I could start a political party. It could be a hot button issue. Millions of people could vote for me. I
just want to stress that you could, and that this is a hypothetical. I didn't say this is, in fact, I know what I said. Carry on.
storm into the parliament with a majority with this new party, and I can say, right, we have a democratic mandate to introduce laws, to reform, to do whatever it is we need to do, and we could make it happen.
I mean, look, let's be real. What you're proposing is just bullshit.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's likely.
The idea that
I'm amazed that you even included the fact that I said this was just hypothetical, that it wasn't going to happen. That's surprisingly, that's not what I expected.
I'm not saying it's going to happen.
that you do any of this. Right, so in practice, de facto,
Yeah.
you can't do it.
No, obviously not.
And within 6 months,
So that was a hypothetical. How does that disprove anything?
he's gone from singing May's virtues to cursing her name.
Yeah, but that's because I'm observing reality, Phil. Wouldn't it be really delusional if I was still praising May's virtues like Michael Gove? That would be delusional. Like, to not see that Theresa May... I mean, she started strong. We didn't know how she was going to handle it. And it looked like she was going to handle it well, because she was like, Brexit means Brexit. So, oh, great. She understands. She gets it. She understands that we've got to show a firm hand here and make ourselves known. But it turns out that she didn't, and she was a complete worse. So, yeah, why wouldn't I go from supporting her to disliking her? It would be irrational for me to not, would it not?
With more emotionally charged language.
Ooh. Well, I mean, God, we wouldn't use any emotionally charged language around here, would we?
Nice touch.
Theresa May gave her Brexit speech yesterday, and it was surprisingly good. And I have to say, I am actually genuinely impressed about just how firm Theresa May has been when it comes to the subject of Brexit.
Yeah, she was.
Because despite the numerous failings of Theresa May's premiership, and her weak and servile nature when it comes to Brexit and European Union, so I would say...
Let me explain the concept of linear time to you, Phil. It goes in one direction, and I can only see the things that have happened previously. I can't see the things that have happened in the future, or will happen in the future. So, I don't know that Theresa May, when I say, oh, Theresa May has done something I approve of, she appears to be taking quite a strong stance on this. Brexit means Brexit. It looks pretty good. Better than I was expecting. cautiously optimistic. Theresa May fails and fails and fails, continues to fail, falls down a few more steps, fails some more, and it gets to the point where I'm like, right, okay, well done, Theresa, you're shit. Because she appears to be shit. This is me observing what Theresa May has done. It would be madness if I didn't change my opinion accordingly. I don't see how this is a criticism.
Big Britain great
If anything, this appears to be lauding my ability to pay attention to the political landscape. Thanks, Phil. I appreciate that.
again as a hashtag. That's the one I'll be using. I'll probably title this video that.
And at this point, I wonder why he blamed
I believe in democracy until I don't get my way, then I have tantrums all over Facebook. Oh, the self-awareness. Okay, man. Okay, yeah. The Ramonas totally don't... That totally doesn't apply to them, dude. It's all the Brexiteers.
the politicians for this. After all, they were the politicians that the people democratically chose to run the Brexit government.
How did we do that? We chose... we didn't choose Theresa May as the leader of the Conservative Party. We didn't choose her as the lead, as the person overseeing the Brexit negotiations. We didn't get to choose her cabinet, the people working with her. We only got to vote for our MPs, as with any referendum. And I'm putting money on the fact that you're going to bring up that Theresa May... Well, you're going to bring up things that were said before Theresa May failed to get a majority. Because at the time... sorry, I won't even spoil it. I'm just predicting you because you are so damn predictable.
And when Brexit fails, and we are turned into a vassal state, a colony of the European Union, it will be Theresa May's fault.
Yeah? Did we have a previous Brexit that she had negotiated that I should have looked at and learned from? Is that what I should have done? Did we know what was going to happen? Again, I can refer you back to my explanation linear time, if you like.
You're on your own. You've got no one else to blame. If it goes down the shit from here, you're on your own.
Is it not... am I the one negotiating it? I mean, I would love to be the one negotiating it. I think I would do a far superior job to May. But then, honestly, I think you would do a far superior job to May, so, you know...
I mean, shouldn't they really be whining at the people who actually voted for these politicians rather...
Why? Why would I bother whining at the people who voted for a politician than the politician themselves who's the one doing the bad job? That's such an irrational thing to say. But that's the Remain mindset, isn't it? Oh, now we're going to whine at the Brexiteers. This is your fault. No, it's Theresa May's fault. She has agency. She's using it, and she's using it badly. That's where your eye should be right now. She could be barnstorming this. She could be doing an amazing job, but she's not. It's Theresa May's fault. All of this.
than the politicians. I mean, wasn't his whole beef with leaving the EU that people should have the right to elect the politicians who make...
Are you sure this strengthens your argument?
their laws?
Now you know that you have a vote in Europe, same as everyone else.
Yeah, but we don't vote for the people who make the laws. That's the difference. This is
but
the
the
avenue
people
of power that's blocked off from the demos doing their bidding, you know. And so it's actually, I mean, I feel like I have a lot of moral authority when it comes to this kind of thing, because I'm very much interested in making sure that power is focused on what the voters want, because ultimately it is the voters who hold the power.
Well,
Yeah. And then when we elect a representative, we have to talk to them. And Theresa May has refused to listen to her own negotiator. She sidelined David Davis, who is actually quite a good negotiator and actually has a good plan, and has, in the Times today, had posted a new plan to get us out of the mess that Theresa May has left us in. I mean, it's only his opinion that Theresa May has done this. She's only been sidelining him for the last 6 months. I mean, what would he know, dude? He's only, or he should have been, right next to the goddamn thing. But anyway, I mean, sorry, carry on. You were busy blaming voters? Do go on.
that's what the voters did. Now he seems upset at democracy.
Why would I be upset at democracy? It's like being upset at capitalism if you lose your job. That's like being upset at a farmer if you've got no food in your house. What? Why would I be upset about democracy?
But whatever, like I was saying, We have a name for people who make consistently bullshit predictions. Like May will win a majority in the election and Corbyn will resign in disgrace.
Okay, right. Look at the date, and then Google the date her manifesto was released. You'll notice that my tweet, again I refer you back to the explanation of linear time, was made before her manifesto. And I mean, I know you're not big on politics, but the manifesto that she produced was universally panned as being fucking terrible, and she ceded almost all of the ground that she could have kept to Corbyn. It was an amazing, staggering turnaround. I mean, like, look at the guy below. Even Michael Fish could forecast that, because at the time, all of the data said exactly that. It was not, that was, I mean, you'll notice you're the only person who says this. That's not a controversial statement at all. In fact, it's totally mundane, or it was at the time. But again, Phil, politics isn't static, buddy. You can't just say, well, X amount of time ago, you said something, and now that doesn't apply. That means you didn't understand what was going on. No, things change, dude. Like, it's actually genuinely amazing. Like, not even like my worst enemies would bring this up as a criticism, because they would look stupid doing it. They would look like absolute morons. Not even like the most annoyed SJW, not like the most angry commie or the alt-right. You know, none of them would do that because they would feel stupid doing this. That's how you look. I'm really sorry, man. That's
win a majority in the election and
she was absolutely on course to do so, and it was unbelievable that she didn't. It's one of the great political failures of our time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I put up a video shortly afterwards going, well, that was a fuck up, wasn't it, May?
Corbyn will resign in disgrace.
This is actually a really savvy political move, because this basically puts Theresa May in a position to form a new majority in...
Again, it was a savvy political move, but she decided to bring back fox hunting and ivory trading. Like, do you think there was anyone that could have predicted this? No one was like, well, I mean, you know, I mean, it's a good idea, but when she brings back fox hunting and ivory trading and all the, I mean, there were various other things, but these were like viral and unpopular, just on an emotional level with people. You know, these are things that really do not resonate with the British public. And it was actually quite amazing. I guess she must have put them in there thinking that she was inevitably going to get this majority. I mean, you know, if she thought it, maybe she was trying to get it in. Who knows? But the idea that you think you can take something that happened before a certain event that obviously changes the analysis and say, well, you didn't see this event coming, did you? Well, no, I didn't. But that's because I'm not precognizant, and neither was anyone else, which is why no one else saw it coming. It's not a criticism, Phil. Doesn't work. It makes you look like a fool to have said this.
in Parliament, which will happen. If a snap election was called tomorrow, the Conservatives would win in a landslide, and
they would have done had it not been Theresa May's manifesto. I don't know what to tell you.
Would win on the back of the Brexit vote, because Theresa May's Chequers plan is basically a surrender to the European Union.
Yeah.
This is why Theresa May is the most popular politician in Britain at the moment.
At the moment. Things change. It's not a fucking periodic table, Phil. Things change in politics very rapidly often. Like, this isn't a critique.
None of which happened, or that Le Pen will...
Yeah, but okay, this one I'm happy to cop to. I'm happy to admit I didn't judge the electorate correctly. I wasn't as well researched as it could have been. I was wrong on this. I'm happy to admit I'm wrong on that. No problem at all. Right? The other things, totally invalid criticism. Totally invalid. In fact, criticism's so bad they make you look bad. This one I can cop to.
Win the French elections, which was comically bad. Or a man who said that the Young Turks were falling apart here. Or believing that the UK would make you thousands of pounds richer.
Probably would have been better to show their viewership over time. Don't know whether you've noticed, but it's declined. Not very important, though, I guess. But either way, I was talking emotionally. Have you not noticed that they seem unstable of late? Have you not noticed they seem to be acting out somewhat? having emotional problems. But I mean, if you were to include the content of the video, oh, look at their subs have gone up. Yeah, well, Amazing Atheist subs go up. You know, it's like it doesn't actually mean as much as you think. The views are what matter. And I'm not trying to shit on the Amazing Atheist. I do like the guy, but like, the views matter more than the subs. Just so you know.
Because he read it, so it must be true.
All that thing about, all we have to do is leave the EU and we can have growth.
Yeah, no, I don't. That's the thing. I don't want to present a utopian idea. And I'm such a lunatic. I'm not presenting a utopian ideal, but I think things would be better if we left the EU. Wow, what a lunatic.
Said that's almost what you did. I watched one of your videos on this, and you said that you actually had the number in it, that we send £100 to the EU, and if we left, you thought we'd be £1,000 richer.
Well, no, I don't think that. That's just what the source I was quoting from.
I don't care where that comes from. You've got to know.
The average person will have more money. The average person will have more money. They absolutely will. Yeah. I mean, we send them billions of pounds.
That every pound that you don't send to Europe, you're going to get £10 richer.
No, I don't think I said that. I'm reasonably sure that's not something I have put in a video, but I will have been speaking directly from a source that I would have used. I mean, you probably would have done better to have presented that, but maybe you do. No, I don't think it's going to be
that's
that
what
drastic.
The numbers were.
No,
you said,
I'll have to find it.
We send £100 to Europe, and if we leave, we'll be £1,000 richer.
Okay, let's assume those numbers are vastly inflated then, right? Let's assume they are. I don't know if that's correct, but okay, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I'd written down the wrong number. Assume they are, right?
10% difference. I would maybe say maybe.
Let's assume that there is no difference.
1,000% better off for leaving.
Okay, but let's assume those numbers are wrong then, right? But there is no doubt that the average.
Let's assume they're wrong. I mean, how can you believe them?
Well, I don't know. This is the thing.
Or that Brexit will be okay.
You think you're going to make Britain great again?
Well, me personally, probably not. But I think we'll do okay.
Wow, I sound like a raging egotist, don't I? I'm personally not going to do it. Well, I mean, things are going quite well with UKIP at the moment. We've gone up 5% in the last couple of days. Apparently, we were polling at 3%. Now we're at 8%, and we're just going up. And the membership's going up, and the numbers are going up. All of them. Who knows? We're probably going to end up with the Jeremy Corbyn government, though. But I think at this point it's probably inevitable. But you know what, Phil? Right? I just want to make it known. That might change in the future if an unforeseen event that I can't predict now when I record this comes up. I might have to change my position, but given the information that I have to hand at the moment, I think that, it's probably likely that Jeremy Corbyn's going to win, because it seems that Theresa May's basically giving him the leadership of the country after she fucks up Brexit, which isn't going to be good. On the plus side, though, it might kill the Conservative Party, so,
And when Brexit fails, and we are turned into a vassal state.
Or that May has shown amazing leadership.
And I have to...
Why are you doing this to yourself, Phil? Yes, previously she had, then she entered a downward slope that seems to have no bottom. Things change. I didn't see that coming, but no one else did either. So it's not unique to me, is it?
I am actually genuinely impressed about just how firm Theresa May has been when it comes to the subject of Brexit.
And now he's putting out videos claiming that people haven't changed their minds on Brexit, when the graph that he's showing shows the exact opposite, that they
No, it doesn't.
have.
And
No, it doesn't.
don't make the mistake of thinking that this means that the British public have turned against the idea of Brexit, because they haven't. YouGov polling shows that Britain has been pretty damn consistent on the issue ever since the referendum itself.
That is pretty damn consistent. There has been a very slight, 2 to 3% swing. That's not exactly like a landslide, is it, Phil? It's pretty consistent. And it would be going a lot better in the direction that I would prefer it if Theresa May didn't suck. That's not... Oh, sorry. Landslide in your direction there, Phil. Sorry, carry on.
It's still roughly 50-50.
Yes, except before, the majority thought that Brexit was a good idea, and now the majority think that Brexit is a bad idea.
Yeah, but not by much. Still split down the middle like you were saying earlier. I mean, they were your words. I could probably go back and find them, but I can't be bothered.
I mean, it's almost like in a democracy that people can change their minds.
Yes. Of course they can. But once you vote on something, you vote on something. I know that you're in favour of the EU and you like having multiple votes until you get the one you like, but that's not how we should do a democracy, because that isn't really a democracy. I guess you're not a fan of democracy. I am, though, you see. You know, you think for some reason I'm upset at democracy, but I think that you're the one who's upset at democracy. Those goddamn ignorant plebs voted the wrong way.
And surprisingly, his audience don't really seem to care about certain minor trivialities as such.
That's not like a massive... all I said is virtually the same. And it is. I haven't misrepresented this at all. It's no wonder my audience didn't turn on me for that, because it is basically the same.
Facts. Now, usually, you can tell who understands the situation best by who's making the best predictions. Like this wonderful prediction from Nigel Farage.
Look, Phil, you can only predict things based on what you currently know. You can't make a prediction based on something that's going to happen in the future that is not foreseeable. Like, I can't believe I have to explain this to an adult, let alone a scientist.
And in doing so, we now offer a beacon of hope to Democrats across the rest of the European continent. I hope this victory brings down this failed project and leads us to a Europe of sovereign nation states. I'll make one prediction this morning. The United Kingdom will not be the last member state to leave the European Union.
Well, that's inevitable. Greece is probably going to crash out at some point, isn't it? Been following that? It's not looking good. I noticed they've gone very silent on the issue in the past few months, though. I haven't even followed it, actually. I haven't followed it for a while. I wonder why they haven't left the euro yet. I wonder if they gave them the money they needed. Probably did. You'll probably go, oh, but you didn't. No, I'm just speculating, Phil. It's okay to speculate.
Oddly, Britain's amazing example didn't exactly encourage people to flee the EU. In fact, quite the opposite. There has been an almost entire Europe-wide increase in the favourability of how people view the European Union.
Has there been any propaganda campaigns in favour of the European Union using taxpayer money? Just out of interest.
My prediction was quite clear, that Brexit was going to be like changing the colour of something from military grey to ocean grey. It was the
Okay, but you're wrong.
very opening argument that I had in the debate.
So yeah,
Yeah, but that's not the case. I mean, things will be quite significantly different. We just aren't there yet.
So, for what tangible gain? The way I see it is a very expensive way. You've seen Red Dwarf, yeah?
Love it.
Yeah, you know, when Rimmer's repainting everything from ocean grey to military grey.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
I do still love Red Dwarf.
Come on, paint, 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 paint.
But why are they painting the colour the same colour it was before?
They're changing it from ocean grey to military grey, something that should have been done a long time ago.
Looks exactly the same to me.
No, that's the new military grey bit there, and that's the dowdy old nasty ocean grey bit there. Or is it the other way around?
Why? What the hell's the point of that? It's just a very expensive way of changing things from something to exactly something is a difference without a distinction.
A very expensive way of ending up almost exactly where you were to begin with, because eventually the trade rules that you have with the European Union, which is most of what the European Union actually does, will be replaced with other trade rules between the UK and the EU.
Yes, because Theresa May is shit. She is accepting their trade rules without... She's giving away the farm. Okay, so... Do you accept that over the last 40 years, say, just as a ballpark figure, the EU has increasingly been eroding the sovereignty of the national states that it's ruling over? It's been creating more of their laws, it's been erasing their borders, it's been overriding their national decisions, forcing multiple referendums on them. Do you think this trend is going to get better or worse? This trend will get better for Britain when we leave the EU. It's obviously going to get worse for the countries within it. And I don't know whether you're not saying anything here, but there's a huge amount of dissent in the EU right now, as I'm sure you're aware. Oh no, what am I saying as I'm sure you're aware? That's way too much credit.
Which will be similar but worse for the UK. And it'll have vast cost and vast disruption attached to it.
The UK will be a country, yes. It's not going to change into a spacecraft or something. Sorry.
To end up almost exactly where you were to begin with.
No. We're going to be ending up on a different path. Instead of losing our national sovereignty, instead of then being forced to commit to an EU army or, to adopt the euro or whatever plans that they're going to have in future, they're going to try and strong arm us into, they won't be able to do these things. I know it's hard to predict that things will happen in the future, but there is a pattern of behaviour from the EU, and it's not unreasonable to go on a past pattern of behaviour. Now, if the EU didn't have that past pattern of behaviour, and was in fact, say, I don't know, the other way, rather libertarian, not protectionist, not kind of authoritarian, bureaucratic, I would agree that what I would be saying is kind of an unfounded criticism. I'd probably still object in principle, but if in practice it was working well, then I'd say, okay, well, fair enough, it's really not that bad. Even though in principle I do think we should still be sovereign and independent. I could accept it, but it's not. It's absolutely not. Do you not see Juncker staggering around, drunk, during the middle of the day, when he's going to, the NATO conference or whatever it was? Do something about him. Go and vote against him. Oh, well, you can't. Oh, what is he? The head of the Commission? The sole legislative body of the EU? Yeah, fuck off. It's a tyrannical continental project because they can't do anything that isn't tyrannical.
And guess what Brexit's shaping up to be? A very expensive change without a difference.
Do you remember Article 13 or Article 11? Although I noticed that you didn't make a video about those. Do you care about that? Do you care about the link tax? Do you want your channel, my channel, everyone else's channels to have to pay money to the publications that we promote when we're linking to their articles? What about the Article 13, the copyright directive? Does that ring a bell? Strike you as, I hope you're not using any copyrighted memes there, Phil, in your videos. You find yourself in trouble. Don't worry, we got that sorted though. We actually put our heads together, sent the emails, did the work, and we're on step 1, first victory, towards getting this thing stopped. And the thing is, right, we would have to do this in perpetuity if we remained in the EU. We would have to continue on and on and on, fighting the increasingly bureaucratic nature of this goddamn superstate that's trying to create a United States of Europe, an empire of the good, as Verhofstadt called it. I don't want to have to do that my whole life. I'd rather just fucking leave. Stop being a fucking pussy.
And I was racking my brains for what will actually be different. I think the only physical difference you can point to is that Theresa May won't have to go to EU summits anymore.
Fab.
And there'll be no MEPs, there'll be no Nigel Farage standing up in the European
Brilliant, that's money we don't have to spend on that.
Parliament.
Everyone who's lived a significant portion of their life in the UK knows that the government has an amazing ability to screw up every large-scale project sent their way.
I agree. Giant bureaucratic entities are bad. We should get out of an even bigger one and go back to our slightly smaller giant bureaucratic entity. Maybe we can get that even smaller as well in future. That would be good, wouldn't it? I'm a big fan of decentralization. Carry on.
You tell me what Great Britain has done since World War II where you can point to it and say, that government project was a resounding success.
I can actually. The trains were actually quite a success. The Royal Mail was a success. That was $1 billion up in profit before the Tories privatised it. Don't know why. That was money going to the Exchequer. That was taking a burden off the taxpayers, or at least it could have been, presumably. But I don't know whether you've used the trains recently. They're fucking horrendous. I had to use the train today. Packed. Absolutely packed. I had to stand in first class, face to face with people. Because the privatisation of the railway has been an absolute catastrophe in this country. The government was running it better. There's no getting around it. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
It was well thought out and competently executed.
Hilary, this is back in the early days of Cameron.
Yeah, I'm not exactly someone who thinks government is wonderful.
That we scrapped the aircraft carriers and ordered some new ones from France. These were going to be, the first thing that England's had that would probably class as a real carrier in a long time. And then we're going to fly the F-35 Lightnings off them. But the thing is, the carriers were going to arrive about 10 years before the planes did. But they'd actually scrapped the Harriers. The only planes that could actually fly off these, they actually scrapped them. So they're going to have the carriers for about 10 years with no planes. And in that gap period, there will be no carrier ability for the United Kingdom. Right? Although they can fly helicopters off them, but what's the point of building a super carrier to fly helicopters? Right? And you worry about taxation without or did you vote for this?
Am I worried about taxation without representation? Yes, I am.
What, did I vote for the EU?
No. Did you vote for this the way that they speak?
No, but let's imagine.
Do you have any
no.
way of
Okay.
changing it?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you
Let's
have any
imagine.
way- taxation without representation. Do you have any way of changing it?
Yes, I can vote for a government that runs on a platform of not doing this, of fixing it. Honestly, it's not the biggest burden in my mind. The government has 2 aircraft carriers they can't use for another 5 years or 8 years or however long it is. But I could do something about that. That's the thing. I and not just myself, but the citizenry collectively could do something about that. Get Juncker the drunkard out of the commission, Thunderfoot. Oh, you can't? You literally have no fucking physical way within the system to do that? Wow. Well made point there, my friend.
You would have had to have been outrageously naive not to have noticed a pattern. You would have had to have a particularly large and
What, are you an anarchist now?
pasty ass with your head shoved uncomfortably far up it not to notice the pattern. And then...
Yeah, that's right. Government sucks. Let's get an even more distant government that's even bigger and rules over even more people. Because government sucks. Good idea.
to move forward with the expectation that Brexit would go swimmingly.
You think you're going to make Britain great again?
Well, me personally, probably not. But I think we'll be okay.
Meanwhile, people like Sargon seem to feel bitter that the EU might negotiate to their best advantage.
As bu-
No, not at all. That's exactly what I expect from the EU. That's what I'm annoyed about Theresa May not doing. She's not negotiating to our best advantage. Why is this so hard for you to understand?
Barnier said, "The single market is our main economic public good. The UK is leaving the single market, they know the rules." Put simply, the European Union will remain intransigent against Theresa May's proposals, because they feel that her proposals will damage the integrity of the single market.
Yeah, who could have seen that coming?
That's not a criticism, you idiot. That's me saying something true and you going, yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, I know. It was a small clip from a larger video, and that was a pertinent piece of information, because there might be people in countries not within Europe who don't really understand how it works. I have to explain that pertinent piece of information to connect a logical chain to create a cohesive argument. Why are you saying that? Like, that's... Sorry, carry on.
Meanwhile, the British position has been an absolute shambles from start to finish.
No shit, that's the complaint. That's the complaint that we're making against Theresa May and the Conservatives. Primarily Theresa May, it seems, because she's the one who's fucking things up. She's not listening to advisors, she's not doing the thing that she should be doing, and it's blatant to everyone. Even Donald Trump is doing his absolute level best to show that America is with us, calling the EU the opponent, the enemy. I can't remember how he described it exactly, but demonstrating that he's with us, and she's still fucking it up. It's incredible.
To be perfectly honest, I assumed that when Cameron said we're going to have this referendum, that I'd assumed he'd thought, well, people could vote to leave, people could vote to stay, but either way, we ought to be organised enough to have some idea of how we're going to handle things and approach this.
Yeah, Cameron was arrogant and thought that we'd all stay. Misjudged the electorate and the spirit of old England.
And all it had is you guys fighting like cats in a sack because you've got no idea what you're doing. It's crazy.
So the rough timeline is that Britain triggers Article 50 and 2 years later it leaves the EU under a negotiated agreement. It took about 9 months after the referendum to trigger Article 50, and a further year and a quarter to come up with a proposal. So here we are, 2 years in, with only 9 months left, and Britain has only just announced its negotiating position.
Yeah, I know, the Tories have been shit.
Which was followed almost immediately by the guy in charge of Brexit negotiations and his subordinate, both resigning, meaning that with less than 9 months left, we have a completely new guy in charge.
No. Theresa May has been overruling the guy in charge, David Davis. She has been sidelining and overruling him. He has been openly against her plan, and she has been misrepresenting his position in order to try and cover her own arse. You don't seem to fully understand what's happening here.
Oh, this is going well.
No, it's going shit. Which is why I did a video called The Absolute State of Brexit that you have cited, for some reason ignoring the fact that I'm opposed to what they're doing too.
Now that the government's actually announced its position and Brexiteers don't like it, they're hitting back with the most awesome of weapons.
You shouldn't like it. You shouldn't like what Theresa May is doing. Not because it's Brexit, but because she's doing Brexit badly. That should be your opinion. But it's not because you're salty as fuck.
The online petition. Yeah, seriously. Like,
How do you think it's... I mean, that's obviously a small petition. I've not seen any petitions. I mean, I think the social media backlash has been enough. But, I mean, how is that not a legitimate way of showing the government that thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, presumably millions actually, are opposed to the way she's handling things? How else should we be... What? I mean, there have been protests, right? There have been protests about how she's been doing these things. I mean, I suppose you don't care.
Won't be enough chaos from merely the guy in charge resigning. But you want to change the government 3/4 of the way through the biggest and most complicated change the country has had in decades.
Yes, because they are the ones who are fucking it up. That's why. She has to go. Mogg needs to take over. Davis needs to come back. And then, presumably Boris. And then I mean, we've already got Trump on side. We've got the rest of the Anglosphere on side. The UK Chief of Trade says everyone wants to trade with us, but they can't because of the shackles on us because of the EU. Yes, we want to change Theresa May. She is a terrible, terrible problem. She seems to actually be the nexus of all of these problems. Her bad decisions. But sorry, carry on.
And even at that, I hate to break it to you guys, but Labour's actually winning. And Nigel Farage is now threatening to destroy the Conservatives.
Yes, good. Good. The Conservatives are still rallying around May. Someone has to do something. Yes, Farage should threaten to destroy the Conservatives. It's amazing that Labour is still winning anything. Yes, things are not going well, and there are things that need to be done, and these people are doing them. Why is this isn't a criticism?
And if this checkers agreement has not been broken, then I will very seriously consider putting my name forward to run as leader of UKIP again. And I can assure any Conservatives listening to this, sitting in marginal seats, who are not prepared to stand up and honour the wishes of the electorate, I will make damn sure, in that situation, that you all lose your seats.
Which, projector.
That's good. He should do. There have to be consequences for them miscarrying in this way. The Conservative Party, the Remainers in it, are just as culpable as Theresa May because they're the ones propping her up. Carry on.
A little further ahead, it's going to leave the UK out of the EU and back with an old-school Labour government. Oh boy, we all remember what that was like, right kids?
Yes, or at least my father does, and that's why I'm pretty much opposed to Jeremy Corbyn. Well, I mean, there are lots of reasons, but it's one of the reasons. Yes, we're not. Nobody's a fan of the idea of a Corbyn government. Well, I mean, obviously 40% of the country are for some reason. That's obviously because they don't know anything about Labour. But yes, this is a dire problem. Probably would have helped had we not had Theresa May, or at least had she felt more confident in her position, maybe. I don't know why Theresa May's done what she's done. Neither do you. No one does. In fact, not even her closest fucking advisors and aides seem to fucking know. No one's saying anything. No one knows why she's fucking this up.
In any event, the EU has done almost nothing but sit there and wait for the British to do something, to announce what their position...
Bollocks! They've sat there and cut her off at every pass and said no, no, no. Demanded more. Laughed in her face when she's made some sort of gesture or proposal. You're whitewashing this entire process. It's not like she's done nothing this whole time. She's just done the wrong thing the whole time and played into the hands of the EU and given them the strength in the negotiations. Why is anyone's guess, but it's not that the EU has just been this neutral actor that sat there and gone, oh, well, we were waiting for your proposal. I can't do a foreign accent. We were waiting for your proposal, and now that you have one, now we're prepared to deal with you. No, they've been fucking screwing with us the whole time, you fool.
was.
But don't forget, the EU haven't actually negotiated. They haven't gone to negotiate yet. This is still negotiating amongst themselves. And by the way, we only have about 10...
Yeah, there have been meetings and interactions and declarations from the EU in response to our declarations that were not finalised negotiating positions. I know this is complex to understand, and to be fair it is, but come on, you can do this.
Weeks, if you look at when Parliament rises and falls, and the conference season, which is coming up.
Almost all the wounds on Brexit are not because of Europe, they're because of the self-immolation of the UK.
You can't separate that from Europe and the response that they've been giving. Fucking hell, that is such an ill-informed thing to say. Do you remember Merkel Theresa May has been making proposals that have been voiced rather than in writing, and the EU have been shutting her down, man. I don't think you've been following this as closely as you think.
The fact that the UK took over 2 years merely to state what its position was wasn't Europe's fault, it was Britain's.
Yeah, it was definitely May. And the Ramonas in the Conservative Party. I would definitely think so.
You're on your own. You've got no one else to blame. If it goes down the shit from here, you're on your own.
An immolation which has surprised even me. I mean, I expect incompetence, but this? And bear in mind, I'm the informed one. I at least paid enough attention to the UK government to know that it tends to screw up big projects. Little...
This vague prediction is informed. Very good, Phil.
One, which is on a short 2-year timetable. Something that kind of eluded many an idealist.
If having memes on the screen is being informed, then good job. Sources would have been useful. Actual articles, events, things like that I put in my videos, that would probably help you be informed. This is not being informed. This is emotional fear-mongering. Carry on.
It's not so much that Europe is trying to make an example of the UK, even if it wanted to.
Oh, it absolutely is. If you don't think they are, then you are not as informed as you think. And I'm being polite here.
It's not had a chance. The UK is just shooting its...
The economy hasn't collapsed. You understand that there was... The Bank of England... I mean, they're not perfect. Sometimes they do things right. Other times, they say things like, oh, there's going to be £100 million fucking shortfall. Like suddenly the economy's going to collapse. It didn't happen, man. It just didn't happen. The predictions were not true. But you don't care about their wrong predictions, even though they're meant to be the experts. Sorry, carry on. Hillary won too, didn't she?
...self in the foot. You know, because a house divided against itself. But even if the...
Get on board. That's your job. You're the one who has to get on board now. The Remainers, you, the rest of the people whining, we'll just have to suck it up. I mean, you would have been the sort of person to go, well, yeah, but why couldn't we just let Hitler have Poland? That's you right now.
You were trying to make an example here. What did you seriously expect when you voted for Brexit? That somehow you weren't 1/10 of the size of the EU, and that might significantly affect your bargaining position.
Oh, the EU's this giant monolithic block that has no flaws or cracks or weaknesses. We're not the second biggest contributor. We're not one of the largest markets for German cars. Britain's a tiny, weak place that's not the 5th biggest economy in the world. What on earth could we do to the European Union that will survive forever? 1,000-year rule? You sound like a fucking moron. You are not the informed one here. It's not like Donald Trump is on our side or anything, calling the union. You don't know what you're talking about. You should probably stop making political videos. You're shit at them.
Did you really expect the EU not to bargain in its best interests?
No. Why we are not bargaining in our best interests is the surprise. You fucking idiot. That's the thing that's shocking everyone. That Theresa May is surrendering. Carry on.
And then there are those who say that we should just walk away, like this is a threat.
Yes. Fucking hell.
No, that does more damage to the UK than to the EU.
Oh my god. Okay. Where is the money going to come from? They wanted 100 billion out of us. They agreed on something like 48 billion. Where is that money going to come from if not from us? Oh, that's right. It's going to have to come from France, Germany, the Netherlands. I don't know. There are probably a couple of other first world European countries but it's certainly not going to come from Spain, Italy, Greece, Portugal, Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and any of the other Eastern European states that have recently joined. It's not coming from any of those. Okay, leaving them with a £6.5 billion net shortfall and the 48 billion that they would have per year for however many years, that is a catastrophe for the EU. Then, cutting off German trade, right? So, interestingly, there's an association of German automobile manufacturers, and they have basically closed ranks and said, yes, we're going to accept the losses in the event of a hard Brexit for the good of the European Union. The ex-French Prime Minister, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, doing this off the cuff, obviously, but I've put all this in videos before, so you really, if you've been watching my stuff, Phil, you'll know this, has said that Britain has a responsibility not to destroy the European Union on the way out. And you know that Trump's going to thinking about, he could pull NATO troops out of Europe. That would be another massive expense. Now we need a European army, which is something they're planning for anyway. How they're going to fund it is beyond me, since they don't raise taxes. They're going to have to force the constituent nations that are remaining to raise their own taxes. I'm sure that'll make the European Union really fucking popular. But hey, don't worry, the European Union is unsinkable.
That's like saying, oh, hang on, I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot with a handgun. I'm going to use a shotgun. And many complain that the Brexit...
Yeah, but if they're hanging onto your foot and they're going to drag you off a cliff, then maybe losing the foot is worth not being dragged off the cliff. Carry on.
It is not the Brexit they wanted. Well, I hate to break it to you, but you asked for Brexit, and you're getting one.
No, dummy. This is... You asked for Brexit, where your government basically bent over and let the EU shaft you, didn't you? No, that's not what we thought they would do. We thought that the EU would operate in its own best interest, and our government would operate in our best interests, and we would have a negotiation based on the idea that we understood that we were two separate entities now, and we were going to have to come to a compromise, or else we would have to do what was best for us at the expense of the European Union, and they would do likewise. The surprise is that our government, while the EU said, right, we're going to do what's best for us, and regardless of what's good for you, the government said, well, we'll also do what's best for you, regardless of what's good for us. That's the big shock here. No one saw that coming. And again, let me refer you back to linear time. It's not to the fault of the people following this that they didn't predict that. Kind of unpredictable.
It's just more the Norway and Switzerland model, which basically means no change.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think we should follow the Norway-Switzerland model. But, sorry, carry on.
You no longer have a seat at the table where the rules are made. It's kind of like asking for flowers to be delivered and then complaining that you got carnations instead of roses. You asked for flowers, you got exactly what you wanted.
No, we wanted to leave the single market. But anyway, sorry, you're almost at the end of your video. Carry on.
You got exactly what was on the piece of paper. As for saying that Brexit would be great if it was done well. Well, sure, maybe, whatever. But then again, isn't that what communists always say? That it would be...
You're a military history fan. I know you are. There are things that you could do in a battle that could cause you to win or lose. And after the battle, you could say, well, if we'd done this thing, we probably would have won. And you can look at that and reasonably assess after the fact that if you had taken a certain action, you would have won. This is not like communism, because there are certain things that you can do to actually succeed. We're just not doing those things, Phil.
Great if it were done properly. So if you're going to take anything away from this, if you're going to try something like this, do it properly.
This is the EU's opinion on how to do this. We're not following their opinion, but then we're not really following our own. But this has gone this has gone on for a lot longer than I expected. So I'm just going to stop here because I don't think you're going to say anything else of particular note. And I suppose I should probably go rub some cream on my face to make it feel better. Anyway, dude, like, you have to get over this. Yes, it's going badly. Everyone can see it's going badly. This is not some sort of revelation. Thunderfoot has come down from on high. Ha ha ha, I told you. No one saw this happening. No, you didn't see this was going to happen. You were just being really pessimistic, and unfairly so, because at the time, there was no reason to think that it would need to go this way. Of course, nobody thought Theresa May would basically be a sellout to Europe. I mean, there's a reason that she's starting to look more and more like a traitor. But anyway, look forward to your response.